Hi guys, welcome back to Tip Tuesday, where I am giving you quick, easy tips and tricks to help your design and branding look a little more professional and a little less DIY. Today I want to talk to you about something that's really kind of boring, not terribly exciting, but really important when we're keeping our customers, readers, followers in mind, because we want our text to be legible, we want it to make an impact, and there's one really easy tool that will help you do that a little bit better. And that is quite simply your line breaks. So if you're old enough to have used an actual typewriter, this is the same thing as carriage return. So where we end one line of text and hit that return and it goes down to the next line, we want to pay attention to those because they can make a big impact on how legible our text is. So keep in mind here, what we're going to talk about really has more to do with headlines, social media posts, those kinds of things, not big blocks of copy or body text or those areas. It does come into play there, but I really want you to focus on the big copy right now, okay? So we're going to jump back into Canva because I know that's where most of you are comfortable. And I've got 3 examples for you here. And this is one of those things where there's not one fix that's going to work in every situation. So I'm going to give you a handful of tools, and different ones will work in different scenarios. So take the one that works best and use that for you. All right. So the easiest way to figure out if what you're saying makes sense or not is to read it out loud. And at the end of every line, to pause and take a breath. So for example, if we read this one, and it's a rather long bit of copy anyway, it goes like this. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. All right? Totally exaggerating it here to get the point across. But you understand what I'm saying, that when we stop where our lines stop, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now this one, what we're going to do, because this is really large anyway, we're going to drop the size of the text here, all right, to something a lot smaller. Now when we read it, it goes like this. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Really easy, right? That's all it took for a very confusing statement to become very clear in a typical Dr. Seuss clear kind of way, because this is a Dr. Seuss quote. All right, so just taking that time to evaluate the size and not think so much about the size of the text, but what does that mean for your line breaks will make a big difference. All right, let's hop down to example number 2. And I want you to also notice that this doesn't matter, or the font that you use here does not affect what we're working with. So it can be any type of font. They all work when we're looking at our line breaks here. All right, so here we go. Every great design begins with an even, better story. All right, so not terrible, not nearly as bad as the first one, but there's definitely room for improvement here. So let's start with doing the reverse, and we're going to make this one larger. It's also small, a little difficult to read anyway. When we make it larger, now it reads, every great design begins with an even better story. Not bad. That you could totally use exactly as is. The other thing to keep in mind is it's often visually pleasing if there's some similarity to your left and right margin. So before, when we had the 2 words stuck at the bottom and a big long line across the top, not a great scenario design-wise, but more so an issue for legibility. Now we can take this one step further. And don't forget that you can actually put in a hard return wherever you want it. So you are not at the mercy of where the dotted lines are on the edge of your copy. So you can adjust it this way and drag in or out whatever you need to make them the right size. But I usually leave them wide like this and then manually put in the returns. So this would be my suggestion. Every great design begins with an even better story. So that is the optimal way that you would want someone to read the statement, right? And again, you've still got a nice left and right margin on the text. Your first and last lines pretty much line up, and the center one fits nicely in that little box of text there. All right. So the third example actually has a couple things wrong with it, and I want you to see these. So our statement is, clutter sucks creativity and energy from your brain. And as a general rule, having solo words at the bottom of your text left all alone is not a good idea. The exception to that would be when you're wanting to emphasize that word. So if you're saying, download my newest handbook for free, to have free as the last word by itself and probably all caps or something would be a great solution. But for general statements and copy, not ideal. All right, so on this one, we're not going to even change the size of the font. We're just going to put in some returns to have it work the way we want it to. So let's try clutter sucks, creativity and energy from your brain. This is how I used it in my Instagram feed a few months ago, because this now helps with that impact part. It's not just the legibility of putting the line breaks where you want them, but this also creates impact. So just like download my newest handbook for free gives you some impact with the line break, so does this one. So if all they read is clutter sucks, that's kind of conveying what we're trying to say, what I'm trying to say. The rest of it just clarifies the why or the how or builds out the statement a little bit more. But it would work like this. Another option you could do is, if you really wanted to just emphasize the first word, you could have clutter by itself at the top. So clutter sucks creativity and energy from your brain. So again, we're kind of getting this nice box of text where our left and right margins are reasonable and balanced, and the rest of the copy fits in the middle. And it makes sense. And now it emphasizes really just clutter. So that someone scrolling through or scanning through is going to know it's a quote about clutter, and that's going to pique their interest or make them pause and read. Slow the scroll, as we say, right? So there you have it. Really simple. When you're reading through your copy, the best thing you can do is just pause and read it out loud and see if it flows. We often don't take the time to do it, but literally it will take you 5-10 seconds at the most to stop and clarify that. So, and it will make you, of course, look way more professional when you've got copy that reads well.